Morning troops, it's Roy from the Geeks Adventures. Woohoo! Broadcasting from the Clintonville section of Columbus, Ohio. So, a little bit more movie slash comic book related stuff. So I imagine at this point you've seen how the internet's kind of had a little bit of a rumble from word of what the latest title for Avengers 4 could or could be, maybe not. We don't know for sure. Although the interesting thing is that it seems like Disney and Feige and company do a good job of, moments when it's like, no, we're not doing that. Versus maybe? Case in point, the new title for Avengers 4. And I've been trying to figure out, especially after the incident, what happens now? Well, rumor has it is that apparently this all started from actually. It's funny how the early spoilers aren't necessarily coming from rumor mills, but from action figures. Apparently, someone was able to snag early shots of toy packaging for the next Avengers movie. You got Rocket, you got Thor, and on the back talking about how they must face a greater threat, and of course everyone went, what? What's greater than... which started to feed the other rumor that the next Avengers movie is going to be titled Annihilation. Which, me being a Richard Rider fan, I went, yay! And you're all going, what's Annihilation and what does this? Who's Richard Rider? What's your point? So, Annihilation background! The Annihilation storyline, oops, that's upside down. Oops, blooper. Was a multi-part intergalactic space war, Lord of the Rings-esque epic story. These are the compilations. There's unfortunately I only have a hand book 1 and book 3. There was also book 2. This is the compilations that are published, I forget how many years ago. Go to your local comic book shop or big box store. All the compilations are now in 2 volumes. Massive volumes. So you're like, well, what's the big deal? Well, let's start with where the title Annihilation comes from. Annihilation, many years ago, one of the first villains the Fantastic Four had was a creature called Annihilus. And right now you're already groaning. You get the pun. Bug dude that comes from the negative zone wearing purple armor. Yeah, sounds kind of corny and dumb. And frankly, out of the bajillion Fantastic Four villains, and just kind of fell way back in the background over time. Just one of the guys who was there. He's some alien creature, got superpowers from stuff in the negative zone, which is another dimension. Blah, 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 blah. No, who cares? Whatever. Flash forward to like 2006, and this story started where a giant invasion force is coming in from another dimension, obliterating everything. Get it? Annihilation? That's a corny dad joke. I know, sorry. Anyway, but seriously, a giant fleet of these techno-organic bug ships and troops in not just hundreds, not just millions, literally billions of these things destroying everything in the universe. Not even flattening, we're talking solar system, we're talking galaxies. Crap is going down. And, of course, one of the primary forces that, within the comic book series with Marvel, that is meant to be kind of like a police slash interplanetary force, kind of like the Jedi. Yeah, we're crossing streams all over the place, but trust me, it works. The Nova Corps, the word leaks in of this giant thing, and the Nova Corps gets its ass kicked. The entire base, kind of like what happens in Avengers 3, Infinity War, but yeah, they get totally obliterated by this giant invading force, and then they're like, what the heck is this? all of these secondary characters that, I mean, really secondary, really nobody cared. Only geeks like me who were paying attention to this kind of stuff were keeping track of who these people are, were suddenly sucked into this war to figure out who this is, trying to create a coalition to stop them. So all these really, really characters nobody cared about. Drax the Destroyer, Moondragon, Ronan the Accuser, the Super Skrull. I mean, nobody cares about, and Richard Rider. I mean, all intergalactic, spacefaring characters that, they're on the pile. Even characters like Speedball are going, sorry guys, but you're at the back of the line, man. They are all called in to Richard Rider, Nova, the Earth's representative of the Nova Corps, or draftee, whatever you call it. He is the only one who survives the destruction of Xandar. And crossing more streams, kind of like the power battery of Oa for the Green Lantern Corps. The Nova Corps in the comic books, they are powered and fueled by the World Mind, a central power battery, and a giant uber powerful artificial intelligence. It barely manages to survive. So Richard Rider is drafted into being a receptacle to this all-powerful thing, much to his chagrin. But what choice have they got? And what happens is that he ends up leading a coalition, an army of all of these beings. Ronan the Accuser manages to get the last remaining surviving folks from the Kree Empire to join this army. Gamora gets sucked in. Why? Because Gamora's a badass. And number two, no universe. Well, hey, Drax the Destroyer, in the midst of all this, ends up being kind of like a pseudo Yoda character teaching Richard. Richard Rider, he's like, at this point, he's like in his early 20s. Richard asked Drax to teach him, look, I'm a kid, I'm a cop. I need someone to teach me how to lead an army, which is what happens. In the midst of all this, Peter Quill, Star-Lord, there's never clear explanation as to what happened, but you got the impression that some bad stuff happened and he got drafted. And it's hysterical to watch these four characters interact. As Richard, he literally kind of becomes this, William Wallace, Aragorn type character who leads a coalition to face off against, turns out, Annihilus. All these decades of being the forgotten villain, while he was in the negative zone, created this giant army to destroy our universe. It is I mean, seriously, 3 volumes, and even the 2 volumes, these are huge, amazing stuff. And actually, what makes it even more fun is the fact that the big name characters, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Thanos, they're in the background. Then actually, this is another way that this is a very Lord of the Rings story, in that you've got all these characters going in all sorts of directions. Thanos is helping Annihilus. Why? Because he's Thanos, and that's the kind of thing he does. Galactus, and he's part of this coalition, kind of in the distracted way. Galactus does a lot of things. It's a magnificent, wonderful, epic story. And the fact that a character from my childhood, Richard Rider Nova, is a prime leader in it. Bonus! Woo! And actually, the really fun thing, too, is that you see the transformation in the character. And this goes forward into the short-lived Nova series. Not the one with the kid, but the short-lived series where Richard Rider is starting the Nova Corps again. For one brief, shiny moment. Who knows what they're doing right now. To see him go from this early 20s guy who's just trying to stay alive to a military leader, bordering on being a diplomat. There's a great story in the Nova series where he is trying to get this Nova Corps started back up. He faced Blastar, who is this badass intergalactic character who, for one moment, was an ally of theirs, and once the war is over and everything's back to normal, well, he goes back to being a schmuck. There's a great story where the two of them come to a détente about how things are handled on the planet. So the story, it is a wonderful story and fits in very well to this giant epic evolution within the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. Not to just stick with Earth, and actually that's touched on a little bit too. When Richard Rider, the war is over, he's exhausted, he comes back to Earth to kind of have a little peace, get a little perspective. At this point, the comic book Civil War is over, and Tony starts talking to him and kind of talking smack a little bit, like, well, we've been kind of busy with our thing. What have you been doing? And Richard, you see how much he's grown up in that he kind of glares at Tony and goes, oh, just save the universe, seeing billions of people die, stop an invasion that could have destroyed everything here. Oh, you guys were playing costume on Earth. I had to save the universe, so please just shut up and stop whining. So it's going to be fun to see how Richard Rider's going to fit in. The ongoing rumors still flying around. Oh, he is going to be in it. Yada 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 yada. But in typical Marvel fashion, which is what they do incredibly well. No, let me rephrase that. In typical Feige fashion, little bits of. Be interesting to have him in here, wouldn't it? So we'll see. We'll see how this all works. But there you go. That's where this whole Annihilation thing got started in the comic books, and how things could be connected, perhaps, maybe, sort of, kind of, in the movies. Who knows? But as you can tell, consider how much I've managed to gush for the last couple minutes. I love this story. It is a wonderful story. If you get a chance, seriously, please go to your local comic book shop. Go to your local big box store. Like I said, this is what I have is the older three volume compilation. There are now, it's really reduced to 2 volumes, are each really, really thick. So also still under the Annihilation moniker. So please, there you go. Please go pick them up. They're awesome. They're fun. And a great chance to be introduced to a whole plethora of new different characters that just were magnificent. So there you go. Something to think about. So may the force be with you. May the odds be in your favor. And as always, be good to each other, folks. Okay? Have a good rest of the weekend. Peace.